It has been about 7.5 months since I made the decision to go back to real estate. And I have, over that period of time, produced quite a few videos about the things that I was doing, about the challenges that I'm facing, and what's happening, putting updates with what's happening. And with this specific video, I thought what I will do is give my impression of the industry right now. So what I feel the industry is like right now compared with what it was 8 to 9 years ago when I stopped selling. And do that comparison to maybe highlight some things that I realized or discovered, things that I think changed, things that I think have not changed at all. So what has not changed? And first time in many videos, I have taken down notes in order to remember what it is that I'm going to say. So what hasn't changed? The conversations with people really hasn't changed. The way that the conversations are, or the type of conversations are exactly the same. For example, 8 to 9 years ago, when I would do open homes and buyer would come to the open homes, they would ask me how much the property is worth or what the owners want, how long it's been on the market, and what is the reason for selling, why the owners are selling. And 9 years on, they're still asking those same three questions when they come to open homes. When I sit down with vendors, with sellers, and maybe the process is not going as good as they were hoping, 9 years ago, they would sit down and say, look, we don't have to sell, we can still rent the property. And still the same conversations. We don't have to sell, we can rent the property. So the same conversations are happening, almost exactly the same words. The conversations are exactly the same. So I haven't really had to adapt much to those conversations, maybe change some of the stories that I'm saying to make them more relevant to this market. But in general, the conversations are exactly the same. Another thing that hasn't changed at all is the loneliness of the business. Real estate is a lonely business, was lonely 9 years ago, and is still lonely when we run around between appointments to meet people, to see people in our cars, having conversations. Quite a lonely business. These are things that haven't changed. The conversations, the interaction with people has not changed. What has changed, though, and I am quite, or some things I knew, others surprised me. These are the things that I found changed. The amount of paperwork is incredible. The mountains of paperwork for anything that needs to be done is gone beyond crazy. It used to be that there were a few bits of paper to be done with a listing or with a sales and purchase agreement. That amount has tripled, maybe even quadrupled in the last 8, 9 years. So I wasn't expecting that. I knew that it has grown, but not to that effect. So that took me a while, and still is 7.5 months. I'm still adjusting and getting used to the amount of paperwork that is involved. Working with buyers, that's another thing that changed a lot, because buyers right now are incredibly informed about prices, about things that are selling, things that are not selling. The amount of information on the internet for any property that goes up for sale is phenomenal. So buyers come into the market, they know if there is an asking price, they kind of know a price range from estimates of different websites. They would know when was the last time the house was on the market, what it sold for, and so they come armed with that. What has changed, though, or has become worse, is buyers' fear of interacting with salespeople. People would rather send an email than have a conversation with a salesperson. If they come to an open home, I would say that 70% of the people that come to an open home, when I call back after the open home, 70% of the people do not return my calls and do not reply to my text message. The fear of being forced or being cheated or working with a salesperson is much more than what it used to be, which I think is quite ridiculous if we think about the amount of paperwork that we're doing right now to safeguard everybody. So the safeguarding of people has gone up, but people's mistrust has gone up as well. So the amount of ghosting with buyers is gone through the roof. One conversation or an email, and that's it. That there is no more conversation. And the other thing that I noticed, and maybe this is just specific for this market, is that the market is so incredibly fragmented in different types of the market. So whenever we receive the statistics for the market in Auckland, the market in New Zealand, then we get the general market. But inside that statistics, there are so many different fragments, so many different parts of the market who act and react differently. So the statistics might say that, for example, December was a quiet month and prices have dropped a little bit. But this is generalizing. In the market itself, if we look right now in the market, anything under $800,000 is really quite active. A lot of buyers are looking in that price range, and those properties are selling quite well. In saying that, in this price range, anything that is a brand new property, a townhouse or a terrace house, those are not moving very well because there's a lot of them in the market. The higher level, I would say $1,950,000 to 1.2, that is quite a very quiet part of the market. The second, third level of buyers, there's not a lot of activity in that market, not that many buyers, probably because of the lack of confidence in the economy. And higher than that, which I don't really deal with, I don't know. But I assume there's no changes there because people who have money, the economy doesn't affect them that much. So the fragmentation of the market is again something that has changed. It used to be very, very similar. Everything would move or everything would drop or everything would be quiet. But it's very, very different right now. And finally, another thing that hasn't changed at all is the way the market works or how to build the real estate business. And that there's three things that haven't changed. An incredible amount of hard work. There has to be hard work in real estate. Unstoppable communication. So I spoke about the ghosting with buyers, but it doesn't mean that we stop communicating with them, whether it's through emails or continuing to try with specific buyers. Just keep on communicating, keep on talking. And in this market with the sellers, even more. Just an unbelievable amount of communication, especially if they are first-time sellers or second-time sellers. They need a lot of communication, a lot of assurance. And finally, which is probably a result of the first two, the ability to build a relationship of trust with people, whether they are buyers, whether they are sellers, the ability to get people to trust us, to get them to understand that we are working for them. And as a result, it works for us, not for us, and they are the secondary. The ability to build a relationship of trust is how the business is now happening. It used to be this way, and I think now it's even much stronger. So this is the summary of my observation of real estate, the real estate industry right now in this market, 7.5 months into selling again after a very, very long break. And I will continue to update with videos. I probably need to do a video on what's happening with me and maybe the plans that I have for the coming future with how I'm structuring or what I'm going to do with my business.